Hello, my name is Sophie, and welcome to part 3 of a review and summary of the book Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, the second book in the Throne of Glass series. Woo! Guys, this is the final part of my review for this book. We've made it!
Yeah!
Who's surprised? Me. The reason I'm surprised, though, is because this was only supposed to be 2 parts, but unfortunately I yapped so much I kind of had to make a third. Anyway, I'm going to try and make this intro as concise as possible so that we can get straight into the final part of my summary and review. Alright? Because I know we just want to get straight down to business. And I understand. But first, we need to go back through the trigger warnings. They are the same as they were for part 1 and 2, but I'm going to go through them again just so we're all clear on what we are getting ourselves into. Okay? Okay. The trigger warnings for the book Crown of Midnight, according to the Trigger Warning Database, are forced servitude and slavery, misogyny, classism, persecution for witchcraft, rape, forced sex work, child abuse, cheating, trauma and nightmares, attempted suicide, suicidal ideation, alcohol consumption, graphic and gore, vomiting, dead bodies, decay, grief and loss, death of a partner, death of parents, death of a friend, murder and attempted murder, and imprisonment. Woo! Every time I read that list, it just feels longer and longer somehow. Now, even though I'm not going to be going into much detail with any of these, if any of the things that I just mentioned aren't sitting okay with you today, or if they're making you feel a little bit icky in your stomach, take care of yourself. Sometimes things just hit in a way we don't want them to hit. So, look after yourself, hop off this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And hopefully I will see you again in another one. Alright, I will assume that if you're still here, you know what you're getting yourself into, okay? On to the cliff notes from what we have been through so far together. Okay, book 1. I'm gonna go through this the fastest I have ever been through anything in my whole freaking life, which is not that fast because I'm pretty slow, but let's go. So, Selena Sardothian, Adelin's assassin, the best to ever do it. She is serving life in the salt mines of Endovia for being the coolest. She is freed by Kale, the captain of the guard, and Dorian, the prince of Adelin, under the condition that she takes part in a competition against a bunch of criminals to become the evil king's champion. So, she goes with them to the castle, where she meets Nehemia, the princess of Ilway, and they become besties. Who'd have thought? She also becomes quite close to Kale during this time, and she also starts making out with Dorian on the side, just a little bit. Then she discovers a secret passage in her room. Crazy. And this secret passage leads to the tomb of some ancient rulers of Adeline, Gavin and Elena. And Elena appears to Selena in this dream, non-dream situation and gives her an amulet and a side quest. The side quest is to find and defeat the mysterious evil in the castle. Whoa. Now it turns out this evil came in the form of Cain, one of Selena's fellow champions. And this guy, throughout the competition, was using these mysterious symbols called word marks, which possessed a power that is different to the power of magic. On that note, the king outlawed magic 10 years ago, and then magic disappeared on its own, so nobody has magic anymore. But word marks still contain power because they are not magic. They are different. Okay? Anyway, we don't have time for this. Cain has been using the word marks to summon this creature called the Ridderak, which unalives champions and then gives Cain the champion's strength. So he's just getting more and more hench throughout the competition. Selena discovers this a couple of days before the final duel and manages to defeat the Ridderak.
Yeah!
But during the final duel, Cain's sponsor, Duke Perrington, we hate this guy, he sucks. He is a close advisor to the king, and he enlists the help of Caltaine, who is a snake after Dorian's hand in marriage, right? He enlists her help to poison Selena so that Cain will definitely win the duel. So they poison her, and then on top of poisoning her, Cain also somehow has this whole demon army at his beck and call that only her and Cain can see. So this feels unfair. Anyway, just as Selena has given up, she's lost all hope, she's accepted her fate, Elena appears because Nehemia summoned her, because Nehemia knows how to use the word mark. Crazy. Anyway, Nehemia summons Elena. Poof. She banishes Cain's demon army.
Yeah!
She rids the poison from Celaena's body.
Yay!
And Celaena beast modes Cain and defeats him, and she wins.
Yay!
Woo! Then Cain tries to stab her in the back because he is a very poor loser, but luckily Cale takes him out before he can do any damage. Boom, another day's work. Perrington then pins the poisoning on Caltaine, so she gets taken to the dungeons. And to end the book off, Celaena dumps Dorian and signs the contract to be the king's champion. Woo! Okay, book 1, done. Moving on to Crown of Midnight and where we have got to in that.
I'm so fast. You're gonna catch me.
Okay. Beginning of Crown of Midnight, Celaena has been the king's champion for a couple months now, but she has not been unaliving any of the people that she's supposed to have been unaliving, and instead she has been faking their unalivings and smuggling them out of Adeline. So there's that. Her next target is this guy called Archer, but it turns out that she knew and had a big fat crush on him when they were younger, because while she was training to be an assassin, he came in for training for self-defense because he is a very highly sought after gentleman of the night, if you know what I mean. Anyway, her and Archer go on a date in which she informs him that she has been sent to unalive him. Doesn't go down well. And they come to the agreement that Celaena will give him a month to get his stuff together, get his affairs in order before he fakes his unaliving, in exchange for Archer giving her information on a rebel group that he knows of through his clients. Then he invites Celaena to a ball at one of the potential rebels' houses, where she discovers a riddle in his office, but then she gets poisoned, but only a little bit. In between all of this rebel hunting, Celaena spots a mysterious cloaked figure, creature, thing standing outside the library. So naturally, she goes looking for answers in said library. But instead, she discovers a secret passageway that leads down to a second secret library, which then leads to a mysterious locked iron door. But she uses her noggin and does not go through it. Throughout the beginning of the book, Nehemia had really been getting on Celaena's back about the work she's doing for the king and the people she's been unaliving, blah, blah, blah. So she basically reveals that she hasn't been unaliving anyone, and then also reveals everything else and takes her down to the tomb to introduce her to her new bestie, Maud, who is an ancient sentient door knocker. Keep up, guys. Okay. Dorian discovers he has magic because he has a temper tantrum during a council meeting, punches a wall in an abandoned corridor, and that then causes the wall to crack and a window to smash, which isn't normally the case when one punches a brick wall. So that's terrible news for Dorian. Then the king informs Cale of an anonymous threat to Nehemia's life, right? But he orders Cale not to tell anyone, and because Cale is an idiot, he listens and he does not tell anyone. We meet Baba Yellowlegs through a carnival that arrives at the castle. She is an ancient Iron Teeth witch. She is kind of evil. Okay, but Dorian asks her a load of questions about magic. That was dumb of him. Then it's Cale's birthday. Woo! And Celaena arranges a lovely surprise meal for him, but then she tells him that she hasn't been unaliving any of the people that she was supposed to be, so then that wasn't great, but then they smash instead, so it's all good, and now this marks the beginning of this beautiful relationship between the two of them, which lasts for about a week. Celaena and Nehemia then have a big fight about how Nehemia wants Celaena to be helping her fight against the king, but Celaena does not want to do that because she doesn't want to be unalived, which is valid, to be honest. But they have this big fight and then they stop talking, but then Cale gets kidnapped. No, but this doesn't happen until after the king tells him that he's going to question Nehemia. And Cale better not tell anyone, and because Cale's an idiot, he doesn't tell anyone. Then he gets kidnapped. And when Celaena goes to save Cale from being kidnapped, she finds that it was this rebel group that kidnapped Cale, but Archer is also part of this rebel group. Archer, you told us you weren't part of the rebel group. You're a liar. But let's not get distracted, because Archer then informs Celaena of the threat to Nehemia's life, right, and how the king is planning on questioning her. However, Archer then tells Celaena that the king's not going to question her. He's going to take her out. And he says that Cale knew about this the whole time. So Celaena, full speed, sprints it back to the castle, but she is too late, and Nehemia has been unalived. This is very sad. She then promptly tries to unalive Kale, so someone has to knock her out. They put her in the dungeons for a couple of days. Cool, whatever. She's chilling with Kaltain. And while she's down there, Kaltain informs her that she will not be in the dungeons for much longer because she's going to marry Perrington and move away. So, good luck. Rather you than me. When Celaena gets out of the dungeons, she goes to hunt down Grave, who is the one who unalived Nehemia. Celaena worked this out. And she slices him up a bit, forces him to tell her who hired him, and it was this counselor guy, apparently, and then she takes him out. Cool. She then also solves that riddle from that guy's office and discovers another riddle in the form of a poem which describes the locations of 3 very powerful objects. So naturally, she seeks answers in the form of Baba Yellowlegs. Baba Yellowlegs informs Celaena that the 3 objects are word keys, which open a word gate, which is basically a gate that allows you to travel through different realms. Sick. And whoever has all 3 of these keys is basically all powerful, cannot be stopped. The king has 2. It's not looking good for us, guys. And Celaena's like, thanks, Baba Yellowlegs, and then she takes Baba Yellowlegs out and burns her body in her own oven. Because Baba Yellowlegs wanted to sell the questions that Dorian asked. One thing about Celaena, she doesn't play about her friends. Moving on. We've got to keep it going, guys. Let's keep the pace up. After this, Celaena goes to check out that iron door again. I knew we were going to come back to this. And through this iron door, she discovers a secret dungeon.
Wow.
Great. And through this secret dungeon, she finds another secret staircase, which leads to the clock tower. Oh, but like the inside of the clock tower. So now she's inside of the clock tower. And that is literally where we left off, you guys. The clock tower is giving off some absolutely awful vibes, just so you all know. Girl literally touches the side of it and like gags. The vibes are that bad. So brace yourselves for that, I guess. But that is where we left off. It was Celaena going, I know where I am. The clock tower. So that's basically all I have to say to you. I am filming this intro at a different time to when I filmed the rest of the video. So, passing over to past me, let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. Okay. Moving on to chapter 44, we're in Dorian's POV, and he has followed Celaena down into the secret catacombs. What a crazy guy. He had been on his way to lunch when he saw her marching into that library with her hair tied back and every weapon in the castle strapped to her. So naturally, he followed her. Okay, Dorian, he's the main character now. However, now that he's down there, he is getting super bad vibes. And all of the iron going on around him is making him feel pretty icky. Because as we've discussed before, iron is the only element completely immune to magic. And so when it's around magic, it kind of like repels it. So his very being is like being repelled. So he's like, I need to go and save her and get her out of here. Bless his heart. I don't know what he thinks he can possibly do. He does not have a single weapon on him, and yet he heads down there. Dorian, the prince, heads down to save Celaena Sardothian, Adelin's assassin, the best to ever do it, and also the king's champion. If anything, I fear she's going to be the one to save him. But we really appreciate the effort, Dorian. We head back into Celaena's point of view, and she is fleeing from the clock tower as fast as her legs will possibly carry her, and trying to work out what the frick is going on. Because the clock tower is too mahoosive to be a word key, right? But the crazy vibes that it's giving off suggest that it might have been made by one, which means that the rings that the king and all of the rest of his boys' club wears must also have been made by a word key. Ooh, the plot thickens. Now, when Celaena gets to the bottom of the stairs, she realizes that every single torch has been extinguished. Uh-oh, I wonder who could have done that. She extinguishes her own torch because she doesn't want to be too obvious, but then her amulet starts glowing like a little beacon. So there wasn't really any point in her doing that because now she just can't see, but anything could see her because she's glowing blue. Oh well, we've committed now. And let's not forget, when was the last time that her amulet started glowing? When she was in this freaky tunnel. When was the time it had glowed before that? When she saw that freaky creature. Are you putting 2 and 2 together? Because I'm putting two and two together. Anyways, we are about to find out because as she is creeping along this secret passageway, she hears claws scraping the wall behind her. Ugh. Oh no, maybe they're that freaky creature from earlier. Speaking of that freaky creature from earlier, we head into its POV. Hey! Hey, freaky creature from earlier, how you doing? Yikes. It is staring at her from the darkness, ominously, because it can in fact see perfectly well in the dark. It has been navigating these secret passageways in the dark for a while now. And it actually hates the light, so Selena's done it a favor. Great. But hindsight's 2020, I guess. We find out that this creature used to be a person. But it has been made into the situation that it is now. And this happened so long ago that it can't even remember what its name used to be. But it has had a rough old time and it has gone through a lot of not so great stuff. And once they had left, it had waited until it knew they weren't coming back, until he was looking elsewhere and had taken all his other things with him. And then it had begun opening the doors, one after another. Some shred of it remained mortal enough to always seal those doors shut, to come back here and form the marks that again locked the doors, to keep it contained. Ugh. Who is the he that this creature is mentioning? Presumably the king. That's not great. So now we know that it definitely knows how to use the word marks. That's how it's been getting out. It also assumes that Selena must have been involved and aware of what has been done to it because she's down here and she can use the word marks. So it's thinking, oh yeah, she must have been involved. So she's fair game, right? Like, I'ma eat her. Oh, anyways, back to Selena's POV. She hears this hiss in her ear and she like tries to slice at whatever it is, but then it smacks her in the face and breaks her nose. Ow. And this is when we see the creature in its full glory for the first time. It has the eyes of an animal, but low-key the body of a man, except it also has claws and fangs and is like scarred everywhere. It's kind of balding, like we've got some patchy hair going on up the top. Not looking its best. She's like, ugh, and she runs away. She's out of there. And as she's running, she's like, oh my god, I've got no way to like contain it now, because if I lock the doors with the same symbols, it's just going to be able to unlock them again. How am I supposed to stop it? And I don't know. Anyways, we take a break from that situation to the situation that Dorian's in, which is pretty much the exact same situation that Selena's in, except delayed. He's just heard a very unhuman scream. And then just a ton of banging and crashing in the passageway in front of him. He's just standing there twiddling his thumbs like, Selena? Selena, are you there? You okay? Bless him. I love that guy. He's so funny. Where's all that bravado from earlier about going in to save her? Speaking of Selena, he then starts hearing her yelling, Dorian, run! Run, Dorian! But because he's an idiot, he just like stands there dumbfounded until she runs up to him like, ah, and slamming all these iron doors shut behind her. And he is still standing there like a muppet when the door busts open behind Selena and he gets a good look at the freaky creature that's behind her and he's like, ugh. And then he starts running as well. Finally. But this man is slow as hell. So Selena just like grabs him by the scruff of his neck and drags him up this staircase. Classic. I said she was going to be the one to have to save him. Back into Selena's POV. Keep up. We're switching. We're going Dorian, Selena, Dorian, Selena. Ooh, 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 ooh. Back in Selena's POV, she throws him through the last door and then throws herself back against it. But the thing gets its grubby little claws through it and just wedges them in her shoulder. Ow, 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 ow. Ow. So now our girl has a broken nose and also a freaking hand in her shoulder. She just cannot catch a break right now. Dorian does try to help shut the door, but then he accidentally starts trying to use his magic on the door, and obviously the door is iron, and his magic and iron just do not go well, so he starts feeling really icky, and like the door starts bubbling and it's a whole situation. So instead he just grabs the sword that Selena left by the door and chops the creature's hand off. The door shuts now. Awesome, but Selena does still have a hand in her shoulder and it's just like sticking out.
Ew.
Ugh. And then she just has to like yank it out, which is really unpleasant to imagine. She sends Dorian off to find the walking book, telling him that it will find him, which it does, it's a weird book. And they find a spell that will hold the creature in place when the door opens so that they can chop its head off and unalive it. Thankfully, this spell works and they manage to unalive it and she chops its head off and then just kicks it like a football back through the doorway, which they promptly lock using more word marks. All in a day's work, am I right? After all of this, they head back to Dorian's room to get cleaned up and catch each other up on their latest shenanigans. Selena thanks Dorian for stopping her from unaliving Kale, because as much as she hates him now, she could not have forgiven herself if she had actually succeeded. I'm really happy for them that both of them have someone to kind of confide in now. Dorian's got someone that knows his secret, and Selena's got someone to talk to. I'm excited that they're entering this new era of their relationship, the friendship era, we shall call it. And I am here for it, personally. The next night, Selena heads back to the catacombs to make sure that that door is locked. And it is, thankfully. She gives it a good old yank. She grabs it. She's got her foot on the door. She's, it's not moving. We're safe. We're good. But as she's standing there yanking on the door, she has a revelation about the phrase written on Elena's tomb, which I'm not sure I've actually mentioned since the first book. But the phrase was, time's rift. And the revelation that Selena's just had is that it is an anagram. Whoa! She came to this conclusion because she was thinking about how everything in the tomb is all topsy-turvy. Like the sky's on the floor, the floor's on the sky, there's trees on the ceiling. It's all wonky-donkey. And suddenly she thinks, wait, maybe that phrase is also wonky-donkey topsy-turvy. So naturally, she heads to the tomb to ask Mort, the historically reliable and sentient doorknocker. Now we're on chapter 46, and Selena gets to the tomb and is all like, it's an anagram. And Mort is like, yeah. And Selena says, please just tell me what it means. Like, don't make me work this out. Just give me this. And so Mort does. The anagram translates to, I am the first.
Wow.
And Selena compares this phrase, I am the first, with the words in the riddle that she found in that hole in the wall. In grief, he hid one in the crown of her he loved so well, to keep with her where she lay down, inside the starry cell. There is a word key in the crown of Elena's sarcophagus. Selena finds the hidden compartment in Elena's sarcophagus crown. It's empty. Oh no, someone has already found it. And who? The king. So he has one of the word keys. Mort confirms it. He's like,
oh yeah, he found that like years ago. He was like 20 when he found it.
And Selena's like, why did you not tell me this before? Why would you not tell me? And he's like,
I just didn't realize that was what it was.
He's such a diva. I literally love Mort. Selena asks Mort if he reckons the king has all of the word keys. And Mort's like,
nah. If he did, we'd probably all be so I'm thinking not.
Then Mort gives Selena the most unsubtle hint that has ever hinted when he goes,
it is kind of weird that magic just disappeared as soon as the king became like all powerful and started taking everything over though, don't you think?
Subtle, Mort. Thanks. It's giving those NPCs in video games where they give super specific and unprompted hints to you if you're taking just a little bit too long to figure stuff out, and they end up telling you exactly where the thing that you're looking for is. Anyways, at this, Selena's like, oh, he used the word keys to stop all magic but his own, which explains why Dorian can still use his magic, because he is of the same bloodline as the king, and so because the king is exempt, Dorian's magic is also not affected, which is why he still has it. Huzzah. They then decide that the king probably couldn't have done all of that with just one word key, so the likelihood is he probably has two. Selena's thinking, damn, I wish Nehemia was here, because she probably knew all of this already, and I would really love to discuss this with her. You know, there's a lot going on. I'd like to have someone to just bounce some ideas off of. That isn't a sassy sentient door knocker, mind you. But then she thinks, wait a minute, I can speak to Nehemia. Because if Cain could open a portal to let the Ridderak in, why can't Selena open a portal to let Nehemia in? Uh-oh. Obviously, she would only open the portal for a minute, just long enough to ask Nehemia what she needs to ask her, and also to say, you know, I'm really, really sorry that I didn't stop you from being unalived, and I love you, and I miss you, and I didn't mean any of the things that we said in that argument before you were unalived.
Oh, wow.
Which I do absolutely understand, because Selena is highly traumatized at this point. So if she thinks that there's the opportunity for her to say goodbye to someone before she possibly never sees them again, of course she's going to take it. Of course she would try and open a portal to let Nehemia through so she could say goodbye. However, I do also think it's pretty stupid. But with this plan cooking away, Selena asks Mort how long he reckons a portal can stay open for. And Mort is like,
Nuh-uh, bitch. Don't even go there. Don't even think about it.
And she's like, see ya, and heads off to open a portal. This for sure will go well and not go badly and terribly at all. Then we head into Dorian's POV. He's having a dream. However, what's one thing we know about this book and dreams? They're never really dreams, are they? He's in this big old stone room kind of situation, and there's this dude standing in front of him. And this dude has like exactly Dorian's eyes, and he's also wearing a crown, and they're related. And he's like, you gotta wake up right now. And Dorian's like, why? And this dude king relative is all like, because a line is about to be crossed that will put everyone's lives at risk, including your friends. And Dorian is slow as hell, so he's like, why? And then the guy, dude, king, relative man says, don't waste time with pointless questions. Yes, this king wasn't one to mince words at all. You must go to her rooms. There is a door hidden behind a tapestry. Take the third passage on the right. Go now, prince, or lose her forever. And somehow Dorian didn't think twice about the fact that Gavin, first king of Adlan, had spoken to him as he awoke, yanked on his clothes, grabbed his sword belt, and sprinted from his tower. Applause to Dorian. That man did not hesitate. We love you, king. Go save literally everyone. Chapter 47. Yeah. We're back in Selena's point of view, and she has opened a wordmark portal. Oh no. She reads this freaky spell to complete it, and her throat is like burning, and it's really unpleasant, but she reads it out anyway, even though everything in the universe is trying to tell her to probably not do it, but she does. And then the symbols that she's drawn on the wall start glowing, and then poof, there's a void in front of her. Ugh. And then all of a sudden, her dog, Fleetfoot, runs down the stairs, all excited and barking, and her tail's wagging. And then there is Nehemia coming through the portal. Yay! Fleetfoot lay on the ground, tail still wagging, whining softly. The edges of Nehemia's body rippled and blurred, fracturing with some sort of inner light. But her face was clear. It was her face. Selena sank to her knees. She felt the warmth of her tears before she realized she was crying. I'm sorry, was all she could say. I'm so sorry. You guys, I hate to say it, but this is where I become a certified Nehemia hater. Because, listen, I understand that Selena was dumb as hell to open a portal. 100%, I get it. But she is grieving right now. She is traumatized and she is not thinking straight. She's seen this opportunity and she has taken it. But does Nehemia acknowledge any of this? No, she does not. She gives Fleetfoot the dog a wonderfully warm welcome, and then she turns to Selena and is like, I'm sorry, Selena whispered again. There is no time for you to tell me what you long to say. I came here because you need to be warned. Do not open this portal again. The next time you do, I will not be the one who answers your call, and you will not survive the encounter. No one has the right to open the door to this realm, no matter how fierce their grief. She hadn't known, hadn't meant. Fleetfoot pawed at the floor. Goodbye, my dear friend, Nehemia said to the dog, and began walking into the blackness. Selena just stood there, unable to move or think. Really? Are you getting the same energy that I got from that? Because the cruelty that it takes to look at your supposed friend, who you have been actively deceiving for months, and imply that the only reason you came through this portal, that she has risked her life to open, just so that she can speak to you one more time, is because she needed to be warned, is astounding. And then to have the audacity to turn to the dog, who, I love dogs, don't get it twisted, but to then turn to the dog and say, goodbye, my dear friend, showing that you still have the capability to be a nice person, is insane. That is insane. She does have the capability to still be nice and speak kind words and have understanding and empathy, and yet you have none for your friend. None at all. I don't understand that. When your traumatized and broken friend is standing in front of you, and all you have to say to her are unkind things, and then you turn to her dog and you're like, goodbye, I love you, mwah, 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 and yet you had nothing to say to Selena. It's evil. I really, really believe that. I cannot stand Nehemia anymore. How can you have deceived Selena for months and months and months and lied to her and kept things from her? And then when you are taken out and she goes to all of this trouble to open this portal, which I know it's stupid. I understand that she was dumb to do that. But she's gone to all this trouble to open this portal just to speak to you once more, and all you have to say are unkind things to her. I cannot believe it. And then it gets even worse somehow, because as Nehemia turns to leave, she turns back around and does her own little monologue to Selena about how she knew what she was doing and she accepted her fate and she's at peace with it because that's what needed to happen for things to change. You were a bright light in the darkness of the last 10 years. Don't let that light go out, blah, blah, blah. Which arguably is a nice thing to say to Selena. But how come you, Nehemia, were able to have your little monologue moment, and yet you don't have the time to stand there for a couple of extra seconds to let Selena say what she wants to say to you? I can't even put my words together right because I'm so upset on Selena's behalf that she has so much trauma, and yet Nehemia is standing right in front of her and will not give her the time, the couple of seconds, just to say, like, I'm so sorry that that happened to you. I promise I will fight until the end of my days to make it up to you. But no, we can't give her that closure of being able to say goodbye to her best friend. Instead, we have to have a little monologue about ourselves. You couldn't have stood there for 2 extra seconds. I've had enough. I have had enough of Nehemia. Bye, bitch. That's what I say. Go back through that portal. Nobody wants to hear from you. I think that this just proves that Nehemia is an awful and also shit friend. I said what I said. Let me know what you guys think. Sound off in the comments. What do we think about Nehemia by the end of this second book? Because I personally have a deep-seated hatred for her right now. I don't think there's anything that she can do that will fix the damage that she has done to me emotionally. I really don't. I don't really have anything else to say on the matter. I'm very disappointed in Nehemia, and I feel so bad for Selena that the person who she thought was her best friend in the whole world and her soul sister has turned out to be shite. How disappointing. Anyway, Nehemia said everything she wants to say, so she leaves. And as Selena is standing there, pleading into that void for Nehemia to come back so that she can say her little piece, all that she wanted to say, someone gasps behind her, and it's Archer. What are you doing here, bro? And he's standing there like, OMG. Selena is like, OMG? How did you get in here? What are you doing here, Archer? And Archer explains that Nehemia showed him how to use the secret passageways to get into the castle, and that ever since she was unalived, he has been tracking Selena using them. That's kind of weird. That's kind of suspicious. That's a bit creepy, if you ask me. Anyway, Selena's like, oh, and then she realizes the portal is still open behind her, and Archer's just like gaping at it, and she's like, ooh, probably should get rid of that. Like, he probably should not be seeing this. So she tries to like wipe away one of the word marks that created the portal but it doesn't work like it normally does. Normally she like smudges one of the marks away and the spell's broken and it's all good. But that does not appear to be the case this time. Whatever's going on here is a bit stronger than the previous spell she's done. And for some reason, Archer seems to have strategically placed himself in between her and the book The Walking Dead, which is how she found the spell in the first place. So now she can't get to the freaking book to find the spell to close the portal. So naturally she goes to get the book and Archer like grabs her wrist and his sleeve comes up, and as it does, it reveals a tattoo. It's the same image that Selena had found on Nehemia's desk next to the words, "Do not trust." Nehemia was not telling Selena not to trust the king, she was telling Selena not to trust Archer. But why? Because she was in the same rebel group as him. But this is terrible because now Archer's seen the portal and he's also now stopping her from closing the portal. What the hell, dude? And OMG, it's that moment where the main character suddenly realizes through some subtle thing that actually their enemy has been right in front of them this whole time. Speaking of Archer, he seems to have gone a little bit cuckoo crazy. He's all like, how did you do this? Did you find the word keys? Did you use them? Where are they? Where are they? You must have found them, because how else would you have been able to do this? Archer, buddy, take a breath. Take a moment. Better? Okay. Anyway, then Selena's like, hold up. How do you even know about the word keys? It turns out Nehemia told him about them. Fine. But then he's all like, you found the riddle. I let you find it. I knew you could solve it. You must have solved it. And I'm wondering what this guy sniffed before he came down here. What is going on, man? Holy smokes. Anyway, Selena tells Archer that the king has at least one key, but she doesn't know where the rest are. And then Archer tries to convince her to let him stay and to not fake his unaliving and him flee Adelan so that they can work together and find the word keys and use them to destroy the king
and make him pay.
Insert evil laugh here. Selena's like, no, I want to destroy them. I don't want to use them. And then this is Archer's response. Archer chuckled. She said the same thing. She said they should be destroyed, put back in the gate if we could discover a way. But what is the point of finding them if we don't use them against him? Make him suffer. Yikes. Hate to say it. He is the villain in this story. Somewhere along the way here, he has had his villain arc and he is deep in his villain era. Oh dear. But Selena's got the feeling that there's something else that he isn't saying. She's getting a suspicious vibe from him right now. So she pulls out her A-list acting abilities and pretends that she has seen the light and understands exactly what Archer is on about. She's all like, you're right. We should use them. We should make him pay. This is when Archer reveals that Nehemia in fact left the rebel group a week before she was unalived. She quit. Why didn't he tell Selena that when she came to rescue Kale? And after she left, Archer and the rest of the rebels assumed that she would go to the king and reveal all of their secrets to try and barter with him for Ilway's safety. Selena is deep in her acting role now. She has committed to the bit. So she is gassing Archer up, trying to get him to expose what she is starting to believe has happened here. And she's all like, Nehemia was trying to ruin everything, you know, she was trying to ruin everything for you, and she was trying to ruin everything for me. She lied to me, she betrayed me and you, we're the same person, we've been through the same traumas, you know, we've been betrayed, we've been sold, we understand each other in a way that nobody else could. And she is good. I was low-key nearly believing her during this speech. I was like, wait, she is lying, right? I was nearly sold. If she was not the best assassin to ever assassin, she would have made a great actress, let me tell you. And finally, she gets him when she says, Archie, you should have told me about everything. I knew it wasn't Mullison. He wasn't smart enough. If you'd told me, I could have taken care of it. A risk, a leap of faith. For you, for us, I would have taken care of it. And at this, Archer spills the beans. Uh-oh, guys. Uh-oh. So, what really happened was Archer dressed up as Councilman Mullison and hired Grave to unalive Nehemia so that he could continue with his villainous plans unchecked. He planted the threat against Nehemia's life to break the trust and the bond between Celaena and Chaol, because he assumed that Chaol's loyalty to the king would outweigh his loyalty to Celaena, and he was right. He then kidnapped Chaol to get Celaena away from the castle, and jumped in front of the arrow in the warehouse so that Celaena would trust him implicitly. Damn. I mean, you've got to applaud his commitment to the role that he was playing there. Now, the first time I read the book was a long old time ago, but I do believe I was very surprised by this revelation. Because even though it was pretty obvious that it wasn't Mullison who had organised the unaliving of Nehemia, I just assumed that it was the king, and that was where the untruth was, rather than it being like a double bluff situation. Because I think Sarah wanted you to assume that it was the king who had done it, and obviously he'd just framed Mullison. And the king has some solid motives for wanting to get rid of Nehemia. Like, he was for sure aware that she was spying on him. I'm sure he knew to some extent that she would probably try and start a rebellion. Like, that's definitely her style, you know? And she also was really annoying for him in the council room, you know, during their meetings and stuff. So in my mind, I was like, yeah, it was the king. He was framing Mullison, and there wasn't really much more to it. There was other stuff going on in terms of the freaky creature and all that. Like, I guess it just wasn't at the top of my mind. So this really shocked me, especially because Archer was the one who told Celaena that he thought Nehemia was going to be unalived. And he even said that he'd sent men up there to, like, check on her and make sure she was okay. So I personally was pretty sure that the only betrayal that was going on here was Chaol's betrayal of Celaena's trust. But instead we had like a double betrayal type situation. It was like, oop, Archer betrayed Celaena by kidnapping Chaol, but oh, it's okay, he did that to inform her that the king was gonna unalive Nehemia. But instead, it was, oop, Archer kidnapped Chaol because he wanted to get Celaena away from the castle so that he could have Nehemia unalive. In conclusion, I was very shocked. Celaena still cannot catch a break. Even the guy who was willing to take an arrow for her was just doing it for some sort of long-term manipulation game. She is gonna need some serious therapy after this is all over. Anyways, someone give this girl an Oscar, because even after all of this has been revealed, she is still in character. And she's all like,
wow, Archer, you're so clever. Nobody else would have thought to do that. Why did you pick me? That's eyelashes.
And then Archer reveals that he knows what she is, because Arobynn told him after Celaena was taken to Endovia. Guys, what is Celaena? What is he talking about? Celaena, what are you telling us? Please, girl. Please, I beg. And he's all like, we need you, Celaena. We can't do this without you.
Ew.
But you, gods, from the moment I saw you outside the Willows, I've known how good we'd be together. The things we'll accomplish. I know, she said, looking into those green eyes, so bright in the matching lights of the portal. Archer, I know. He didn't see the coming until she shoved it into him. But he was fast. Too fast, and turned just in time to have it pierce his shoulder instead of his heart. Rats, we didn't quite get him, guys. Also, ew, Archer.
We'd be so good together.
Bro, you had her bestie unalived. What are you on about? Ridiculous. He does not know her. I do hope that she got him in the same shoulder he took the arrow in, though, just so that it hurts extra bad. Anyway, he, like, yanks away from her so hard that she nearly falls over and she has to catch herself on the portal. And oh yes, you guessed it, she has some of his on her hand. And when she touches the portal, she warps one of the marks, and something scary's going on in there. It does a little ooh, and then it changes. The vibe has changed within the portal, and now it's bad. The vibe is bad coming out of the portal, but she has other things to deal with, aka Archer, the lying, cheating little. Unfortunately, though, exacting her revenge is gonna have to wait, because just as she's about to go for Archer again, a growling noise comes out of that portal. But for some reason, Celaena's like, it's Nehemia, she's coming back to explain everything and to make all of this make sense and everything will be fine. But funnily enough, it is not Nehemia that comes through the freaking portal. Is it? No. I have questions. What sort of noises was Nehemia making while she was eating her breakfast that you think that that growling noise could be her. Was she out here growling while she was eating her porridge? I'm scared. Anyway, just as we're about to find out what is coming through this portal, we're yanked into Kale's POV. And he can't sleep.
He can't sleep because there are babies dying in the streets, so I can't sleep.
Gabby Hanna haunts me every day. The actual reason he can't sleep is because he feels super bad about Selena's will and how she has left everything to him, but that doesn't matter, Kel. We've got bigger fish to fry right now, okay? Because then Dorian is at the door with a sword in his hand and panic in his eyes. And Kel already knows who this is about. He's just like, where? And they take off towards Selena's room at a brisk walk. This is goofy as heck because Kel doesn't want to attract attention. And this is so freaking funny to me. Like, her life could be in danger. Like, she could have seconds to spare. And this man's like, no, Dorian, walk. We can't let anyone know. Goodness gracious me, that's so funny. Just run, dude. Just run. Anyways, Kel's trying to get some information on the situation out of Dorian as they speed walk to Selena's room, but Dorian has nothing. All he's got to go on is that dream.
Wow.
And when they bust down the door to her bedroom and they see the open door to the secret passage, Dorian's just like, this is exactly what happened in my dream. I don't know, I just think it's quite funny. Kel's all like,
you stay.
And Dorian's all like,
you can't tell me what to do.
But then they hear a scream and Kel's like,
stay.
And he like sprints down the passage. And obviously Dorian goes as well. And they follow all the noise and the flashing lights to find this freaky archway glowing on the wall, archers crouching in a corner and chanting some strange words. And Selena is unconscious on the floor. And this mahoosive, skinny monster with freaky skin that doesn't quite fit, fish teeth, and like really long fingers.
Ew, I don't like it.
Is like standing in front of the portal. There's a lot going on. And props to Kale, because he does take it all in. And he goes, yeah, I guess I'm fighting this thing. And he just goes at it. Applause. Applause, honestly. Now we're on chapter 49. We're back in Selena's point of view, and she has just woken up after being knocked the frick out by this freaky creature. And she looks up to see Kale having a standoff with it. Good luck, bro. Dorian's kneeling next to her, checking that she's okay, when the thing goes to attack Kale, but luckily Dorian uses his magic to, like, throw it against the wall. Yes. This is shocking to Selena, though, because it makes her realize that Dorian does not just have ice magic, which is what we thought he had before. He actually has raw magic, which means that it can be shaped into anything. And it's also like the most rare form of magic that there is. So he's like super duper extra cool now. To add to everything that's going on, they can hear through the portal more freaky creatures approaching them. And Archer's still chanting these freaky words. I don't know what this guy is doing, because surely he knows that if these creatures come through the portal, they're going to get him as well. Like, is he trying to shut the portal? I do not know, but it is not looking good for any of them. And Selena's like, Archer, give me the freaking book. But instead, he just runs away with it. Great. Thanks, buddy. So that's their chance at closing the portal gone. Awesome. And unfortunately, Selena is too concussed to go after him. So Dorian convinces her to leave Kale to fend it off for a bit, so that they can go upstairs to look for a different book that might have the answer to closing the portal. Then we head into Kale's point of view, and he has accepted the fact that he's probably not going to make it, but at least Dorian and Selena are safe. That's what he's thinking. What a hero. But then Selena starts shouting for Fleetfoot, who's too injured to move and has been left like cowering against the wall, and all of her yelling catches Kale's attention, and he looks at Fleetfoot, and then the creature also looks at Fleetfoot, and then this creature just yoinks her through the freaking portal. No! Not the dog! Anyone but the dog, I beg of you. And there was nothing he could do. Absolutely nothing, as the creature whirled, grabbed Fleetfoot by her injured hind leg, and dragged her through the portal with it. There was nothing he could do, he realised, except run. Selena's scream was still echoing through the passageway as Kale leapt off the stairs and hurtled through the misty portal after Fleetfoot. I forgive that man for everything he has ever done. That was his opportunity to escape. But instead, He chose to go after the dog. I take back every statement that I have ever made claiming he is anything other than a hero and the greatest man alive. We then get a Selena POV, and she's just watched Kale throw himself through the portal after Fleetfoot, so naturally, she bashes Dorian's head against a wall, knocks him out, and runs through the portal after them. Oh, a little bit extreme, but we have got to save the dog, and also Kale. She makes it through the portal, and Kale is standing in between Fleetfoot and this creature, literally protecting the dog with his body, because his sword's been, like, broken, and it's laying over in a hedge or something. I don't know. And so he is just body blocking this creature to stop it from getting to Fleetfoot. And when she sees this, she didn't think twice before she unleashed the monster inside herself. What do you mean? What do you mean, girl? Also, why do all these bitches have something inside of them?
Huh?
Not like that. Get your mind out the gutter. But Dorian was like,
and then as something awoke deep inside of his belly or something.
and Selena's unleashed the monster inside herself. Guys, what's in the air over there? I feel like I need to go and get, like, my stomach scanned or something. What if there's something inside of me? Back into Kale's POV, and he has just watched something about Selena shift as she comes through that portal. She seems to get taller and her ears get pointier and she just gets hotter, you know? And when the creature goes for him again, this would be the final blow for this guy. Like, he has no way of defending himself. But instead of getting got, the creature gets blown away by a blast of blue fire. What is going on, guys? She was between them now, sword raised. She roared, revealing elongated canines, and the sound was unlike anything he'd ever heard. There was nothing human in it. Because she wasn't human, Kale realized, gaping up at her from where he still crouched over Fleetfoot. No, she wasn't human at all. Selena was Fae. What? This is sick! I was chuffed. Let me tell you, I was so excited when I found this out. She is actually a magical Fae creature. I am... This is awesome. Now, we found out in the first book that she had magic, because I'm pretty sure I remember her saying in the first book that she was relieved when magic disappeared because she didn't have to worry about controlling hers anymore or something. So, if I remember rightly, we did already know that she had magic, but regular humans can have magic. But she is not a regular human. She is Fae. Anyway, on to chapter 50. We're in Selena's POV, and she is Fae, and she is blasting fire everywhere. Mostly at this monster, but I don't think she's very good at controlling her fire, so it is kind of just going, you know? Yeah. Kel's just looking at her like... You know? He is in shock. Bro's flabbergasted. So she's like, go, bitch! Because she's just as likely to hurt him as she is to hurt the creature right now, because she's really struggling. It's been 10 years since she's had any kind of magic, so yeah, it's a bit overwhelming. She's a bit overstimulated because when you're Fae, all of your senses are heightened, so she's like seeing in 3000 XP HD, and she can like smell all the smells and feel all the things, and then also she's like shooting flames everywhere, so it's a lot. She's going through a lot. So Kale does, thankfully, grab the dog and he heads back for the portal. So now it's just Selena versus the creature. Who will win? But it's also soon going to be her versus all of the other freaky creatures that are currently making their way towards her. So she's got to get out of here quick, sharp. Because she's smart and the best to ever do it, she uses her sword as like a conduit and stabs it into the ground and channels all of her power through the sword, so it makes like a massive chasm in between her and all of the creatures. So it's just her and the portal and then a void. And none of them can get to her. Pretty efficient, I would say. However, that's all she manages before her knees give out and she shifts back into being a human again, and she's like, bleh. And so Kale has to come back through the portal and like drag her back through. So yeah, but at least she managed to stop the creatures from getting in. Good job, girl. Now we get a Dorian POV, and he's just woken up from being knocked the frick out by Selena, and he's woken up just in time to see Kale yank her back through the portal, and then he dropped her as though she were made of flame. If only you knew, Dorian. But unfortunately, you were unconscious. So He is super confused because the vibes between Selena and Kale have shifted drastically in the time that he has been knocked out, and they're even more whack than they were before. Kale keeps telling Selena to close the portal, and Selena's like, I can't. Like, bro, I think she would have if she could have, you know? She says she doesn't have any power left to close it, but then she looks at Dorian. She's like, but you do. And Kale's like, oh, what? And so she uses just a little bit of Dorian's to do the same spell that she had used to lock the door in the library, and thankfully that works, and it like counteracts whatever spell had created the portal, and the portal closes. So phew, good job. We can go home now and go to sleep. Yeah. No, unfortunately not, because as Kale is like, right, you guys have a lot of explaining to do, Selena suddenly remembers Archer. And she's all like, wait a damn minute, I have revenge to exact. We're now in chapter 50, and Selena has reached the secret tunnel that leads to the sewer that leads out of the castle. And she can hear Archer having a little temper tantrum because he can't open the gate that lets him out. Sucks to suck, I guess. However, when she gets to the gate thing, she can't see him anywhere because he's trying to jump her. He has brain cells, but luckily she's the best to ever do it, so she intercepts his attack. And while they're having this battle, he tries to manipulate her into joining him and his rebel group. And when that doesn't work, he just starts rage baiting her by bringing up the unaliving of Sam, her first love. You're just making her more mad, no? And yes, he is just making her more mad. And no, whatever he's trying to do does not work. Because she does beast mode him, and she's about to make the final blow when he pulls the ultimate manipulation tactic. Nehemia wouldn't want this. She wouldn't want you to do this. And though she knew she shouldn't listen, the words struck home. No, girl. Don't listen. Just take him out now. He's going to be more trouble later. But she does. She does listen to him. And she tells him to take all his rebel friends and leave immediately. And just when he's gotten away with it, just as she's walking away, he says, I knew you were a good woman. Bruh. Bruh. Big mistake. Big, huge Pretty Woman reference. Except Selena is not Pretty Woman. She is the best way to do it. And he's just said the complete wrong thing. You could have said anything else, and you probably would have elicited a better reaction from her. You dumb, dumb idiot. Selena halted, turned. There was a hint of triumph in his eyes. He thought he'd won, manipulated her again. One foot after another, she walked back toward him with predatory calmness. She stopped, close enough to kiss him. He gave her a wary smile. No, I'm not, she said. Then she moved, too fast for him to stand a chance. Archer's eyes went wide as she slid the dagger home, jamming it up into his heart. He sagged in her arms. She brought her mouth to his ear, holding him upright with one hand and twisting the dagger with the other as she whispered. But Nehemia was. Oof. Good job, girl. Well done. Revenge exacted. I think that was a very good move. He was just going to become more trouble later on. Better to just take him out now. Oh. Chapter 52. They head back upstairs. They summon a healer, and the healer fixes up Fleetfoot's leg. Phew. Fleetfoot's fine, everyone. She's gonna be okay. Once Dorian gets patched up and heads back to his rooms, Selena and Kale sit down to have a bit of a debrief. So, Selena explains to Kale that her great-grandmother was Fae, and that is where her power and her ability to shift comes from. I believe that Selena is half Fae, but not all half Fae people can shift. Selena also catches Kale up on pretty much everything that's been going on since the beginning of the series, because she has not been telling him much. So she catches him up on the Riderack situation, the secret passages situation, the portals situation, but she does not tell him about the word keys and all the stuff to do with the king. And he's taking all this surprisingly well. But considering what he's just witnessed and been a part of, I feel like probably nothing would faze you at this point. You'd just be like, yeah, another thing, I guess. Whatever. Selena then explains that Archer was the one who orchestrated Nehemia's unaliving, but despite knowing that it was not Kale's fault, she does not think she will ever be able to trust him again. Which is sad, but it's very valid, I fear. She found the nerve to turn to him, gazing up into his face. How can you still look at me like that when you know what I truly am? His fingers grazed her cheeks, warming her chilled skin. Fae, assassin. No matter what you are, Don't. She stepped back. Don't say it. This is so sad. She just doesn't want to give him any hope that they could ever be together again, because even if she did forgive him, she's gonna have to travel far, far away to far, far away lands to search for the word keys. So it's not like they could really actually be together, because she doesn't want him to have to decide whether or not he leaves his whole life behind to go with her to find them. And it's even more sad because you know that she does love him too. Bummer. So she tells Kale that she's going to go down and prep Archer's body to present to the king, because for the first time ever, she has actually unalived the person that she was supposed to unalive. Wow. But instead, she just goes down there and cries. We then get a Kale POV, and he is very aware that Selena has not told him the full truth about all the stuff. I don't know what else she could possibly be hiding from him, though, because she's not hiding anything from us. Right? Right, Selena? Anyway, his main concern right now is not what she is or isn't telling him. It's the fact that he needs to get her out of the castle ASAP, because this is quite possibly the worst and most dangerous place for a secret Fae person to be hiding in. So, he hatches a plan and goes to see his dad to ask for a favor. Kale will return home if his dad backs his suggestion to the king that they should send Selena to Wendelin to take out their royal family. Now, Kale's reasoning behind this plan is that Wendelin is the last stronghold of the Fae, so it's like the last place where all the Fae are. I didn't really need to explain that. So in his mind, she would be the safest if she went there. And he reckons that the king might agree to send her there because Adeline has been at war with Wendelin for like over 2 years, but they haven't been able to get past their defenses or something. So if she went in and took out their royal family, they might be able to like slip through their defenses in the ensuing chaos. Wow. This is a big move from Kale here. He's making some moves. I'm not sure if they're good moves, but he is making them with all the right intentions. So we'll see what happens. Whatever shred of hope he'd had for a future with her was gone. She still felt something for him, she'd admitted, but she would never trust him. She would always hate him for what he'd done. But he could do this for her, even if he never saw her again, even if she abandoned her duties as King's champion and stayed with the Fae and Wendelin forever. As long as he knew that she was safe, that no one could hurt her. He'd sell his soul again and again for that.
Aww.
Bless him. And his father accepts. Let's see how this all goes down. Chapter 53, we have a king POV. And I'm saying that because we still don't know this freaking guy's name. Give me a name for this man. Goodness. Anyways, he is in a council meeting with the council. And Kale has just proposed his idea of sending Selena to Wendelin. Now, the king is so down for this idea. He freaking loves it. Apparently, Wendelin won't let any Adelanian men within its borders, but it will let women and children in who are seeking refuge. So Selena is like the perfect candidate to slip through to do all the dirty deeds, you know? The king then also reveals to us that he is aware that someone opened a portal last night. He like felt it in the air. Okay. He doesn't know who it was, though. Maybe it's the same person who unalived Baba Yellowlegs. And then he summons the champion. Woo! Selena arrives, and Kel informs her that she is to be leaving for Wendelin. And she's like, sweet, when do I start? And the king's like, tomorrow. Oh, bit sooner than we were expecting there. He then thinks,
This is the perfect opportunity to try out some of the new weapons I've been secretly making.
that can't be good. He also gives us a cheeky little update on the blue word mark that had glowed on Selena's forehead while her and Cain were dueling in the first book. He has found out that it means nameless or anonymous or unnamed or something along those lines. Now, I did not mention this earlier because it was not relevant at the time, but before Selena unalived Baba Yellowlegs, Selena had asked her what the price was for information on the word keys and the word gates and all of that jazz. And to that, Baba Yellowlegs had said, "Nameless is my price, but gold will do for now." I for sure did not put these two things together the first time that I read this series. But this is not the first time I have read this series, and therefore I am putting it together, because I have analysed this situation very carefully and in depth. What could this mean? I fear it is nothing good. Because if nameless is the price and Selena is nameless, then Selena is the price of what? What, I ask you. Anyways, we then get a Selena POV. Whoop, 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 and she is freaking out because Kel knew that she hadn't been unaliving any of the people that she was supposed to be unaliving, apart from Archer, but that was like a separate and very different scenario. But he didn't know that the king has threatened to unalive Kale if she doesn't unalive the people she's supposed to be unaliving. And these Wendelin royals are a bit too high profile for her to just fake their unalivings and smuggle them out the country, you know? It's a bit different of a scenario. If she doesn't do it, it's going to be pretty obvious. So she's in a pretty sticky situation here. She doesn't really know what else to do, so she just heads down to the tomb to see what's going on down there, I guess. And Elena's there. Hey, girl. Hey. Where were you earlier? Where were you earlier when we were struggling to close that portal? Huh? Selena says this. She's like, we could have used you earlier, actually. You're telling me you've got enough energy to appear now, but you didn't a day ago when we were fighting for our lives. And Elena's like, nah, I didn't. Sorry and all that. Is what it is, I guess. Fine, girl. Whatever. We did it without you. Selena then freaks out to Elena about how she can't go to Wendelin because she needs to find the word keys, and she can't find the word keys if she's in Wendelin. But Elena's actually pretty chill about the whole thing, and she tells Selena to go to Wendelin to do what must be done. What needs to be done in Wendelin, Elena? What needs to be done? Selena's like, fine, okay, I guess I'll go. A road trip! Who's excited? Me. I am so excited because I know what's to come and you don't, but I am hyped. I'm hyped. Anyway, chapter 54. We're nearly at the end. We have a Kale POV, and he has just finished with the council meeting, and he is trying to get as far away as possible from Dorian because he did not inform him of his plans before he pitched them. So Dorian was completely unaware that they were going to send Selena away, and he is not happy about it. Unfortunately, Dorian does not let him get away. He catches him and he is pissed. He's like, what the hell, bro? What are you doing? And because Kale can't tell Dorian the actual reason that he wants to send Selena away, he just lies and basically says that she's getting too annoying with opening all of these portals and stuff, and he just doesn't want to deal with her anymore. I think that's pretty funny. This does, however, make Dorian even more angry, understandably. And this is, in fact, exactly what Kale wants, because he figures that if Dorian hates him, it will make the fact that Kale has to leave to go home a little bit more bearable for him. This is super sad. We cannot separate the broskies, please. Anyways, then we have a Selena point of view. The next morning, which is the morning that Selena is due to leave for Wendelin, she heads back over to Nehemiah's grave for a final time to say what she had wanted to say to Nehemiah the other day when she had come through the portal, before Nehemiah turned into an utter biatch and wouldn't let her get a word in edgeways. I'm still mad about that. She raised herself, drawing a dagger from her pocket, and sliced a line across her left palm, black-weld, ruby bright against the golden dawn, sliding down the side of her hand before she pressed her palm to the earth. I promise, she whispered again, on my name, on my life, even if it takes until my last breath, I promise I will see Ilway freed. Some high stakes there, Selena. Those are some big words you are talking. But okay, girl, it's time to lock in. Let's do it. We're on chapter 55. This is the chapter before the final chapter. We're nearly there. We've nearly made it. We're in Dorian's POV, and he has come to visit Selena for a final time before she heads off to Wendelin. Oh no. I'm gonna cry. We can't separate the squad. And so is Dorian, because he's like, girl, you don't have to do this. we can convince my father to do something else. And he is clearly super, super worried about her, which is very sweet.
Aww.
But she assures him that she will be fine, and she asks him to look after Fleetfoot while she is gone. And just in case anyone was worried, which I know you are, Fleetfoot's leg is healing very well. She's absolutely fine. She's doing grand. Dorian assures her that he will look after Fleetfoot, and he says he'll even let her sleep in his bed. We would expect nothing less. Dorian does ask Selena if he can store all of the genealogies and history books that he's been using to research his magic and where it might have come from in her room. And she's like, yeah, sure, do what you will with the space. It's your castle. So then Dorian pretends that he has a council meeting to go to because he knows that Kale will be going to see her off on the boat, and he doesn't want to be third wheeling in that situation, and I don't blame him. This interaction is rather awkward because they're not making out anymore, obviously, and the new friendship that they formed is kind of hesitant and tentative, so they're not hugging or anything. Dorian just kind of goes, cool, see ya, I guess. And then he starts like walking out uncomfortably until Selena says, thank you for all that you have done for me, Dorian. Thank you for being my friend, for not being like the others. He paused, turning to face her. She kept her chin high, but her eyes were gleaming. I'll come back, she said quietly. I'll come back for you. And he knew that there was more that she wasn't saying, some bigger meaning behind those words. But Dorian still believed her. And she will be back, Dorian. She'll be back to unalive your dad. So don't worry. Don't you worry, you will be seeing her again. Then we get a Selena POV, and she's standing on the docks, waiting to get on the boat that will take her to Wendelin. She has pointedly not gone to visit Kale, which is crazy, but she's still kind of flabbergasted by his decision to send her to Wendelin, and she's just like, I don't even want to talk to him right now. Like, I have too many questions. I don't want to get into it. I'm not even going to bother saying goodbye. So she's just headed to the boat with no intention of seeing that man before she goes to do whatever needs to be done in Wendelin, which I do think is crazy, because you are actively in love with this man. Like, we're all aware of it. You might not be his biggest fan right now, but you are in love with him, and this could be the last time that you see him ever. But it's her choice. I understand why she wouldn't want to see him as well. So none of this matters though, because as she goes to get on the boat, someone's like, wait, and Kale emerges from the shadow.
Yay!
He was definitely standing there the whole time. I'm not quite sure why he didn't show his face sooner, but that's okay, Kale. We know that you're a little bit creepy. You've followed her sneakily before. This is not the first time. He asks if Selena understands why he did this. And Selena's like, yeah, but I do have to come back. And Kale's all like,
Nuh-uh.
and she's all like, huh? And then she's like, screw it. And so she tells him all about the word keys and the king stuff that she hadn't told him earlier. So now he's completely up to date on everything that's been going on. Then she gives him the Eye of Elena from around her neck. That amulet has protected her many a time, and she is willing to give it to Kale. That's love, guys. That's love. But then she gets up on her tiptoes and she whispers something in his ear. What is it? And then she did the most reckless thing she'd ever done in her life. She stood on her toes and whispered the words into his ear. The words that would make him understand why it was so important to her, and what it meant when she said she would return. And he would hate her forever for it, once he understood. What does that mean? He demanded. She smiled sadly. You'll figure it out. And when you do, she shook her head, knowing she shouldn't say it, but doing it anyway. When you do, I want you to remember that it wouldn't have made any difference to me. It's never made any difference to me when it came to you. I'd still pick you. I'll always pick you. What did she whisper? We really need to know what she whispered. It's got to be big. It's even bigger than the fact that she's Fae. It's got to be big. Anyways, and as she moves to leave, Kale confesses his undying love to her, and she just says, I'm sorry, and gets on the boat. Oh, right in the heart. I'm not sure he's going to come back from this one. Ouch. The boat sails away, and Selena stares back at Kale until the castle disappears into the distance, and it's not even a dot on the horizon. Insert sad music. Singular tear falls down her cheek. The wind catches it and blows it away, back towards Kale in Adeline. But she must sail onwards to her destiny. Anyways, Chapter 56, the final chapter. It's the final chapter. Brace yourselves. We're in Kale's POV, and thankfully we do not have to wait. He immediately tells us what Selena whispered in his ear. It was the date that her parents were unalive. Okay. And he's like, yeah, we've been new. What other relevance could this possibly have? So he heads back to the castle and he goes to her room to see if there's any clues. But he can't find anything on the desk other than all of these genealogies and like historical charts. And he's like, what was she doing with these? Maybe they're a clue. Kale, it was Dorian. It's nothing to do with Selena, I hate to say it. However, in this stack of genealogies and royal records and stuff, Kale finds the records from 10 years ago, the year that Terrasen was ambushed by the king and all of the bad stuff went down. And on the date that Selena had whispered into his ear, it recounts that morning when King Orlon Galathinius, Orlon, as well as his heir, Ro Galathinius, and also Ro's wife, Evalyn. I don't know if that's how you pronounce any of those names, but that's what we're going with. Anyway, all of these people were found unalived. Orlon the king was unalived at the palace, and Ro and Evalyn, who are like the prince and the princess, were unalived in their country estate. Rah. But their daughter Aelin was missing. And Kale's thinking, OMG. Maybe she's saying that she knows what really happened on that day. Maybe she knows where Aelin is. Then he remembers that Evalyn, Ro's wife, her last name was Ashriver, which means that she comes from Wendelin. So he rummages through the stack and finds the book of like Wendelin's royal family tree, because that's on the stack as well. Dorian was collecting books like nobody's business. He's got all of them in there. And on this tree, in this tree, Aelin Galathinius' name is right at the bottom, and according to this family tree, her great-grandmother is Maeve, who we did mention earlier. She was in the story that Baba Yellowlegs told Selena about the word keys and stuff. Then Kel remembers that earlier Selena had said that her great-grandmother was Fae, and he's like, no way. If Kale's thinking what I think Kale is thinking, he is like reaching with this, no? Because surely loads of people's parents were unalived that day because the king was literally invading the land of Terrasen. So I'm sure lots of people lost their parents. And I'm sure that lots of people also have Fae great-grandmothers out there, no? But let him cook. Let him cook. He then flips back to the royal records of events and turns to the next day, which reads that Aelin was unalived at some point in the night because the assassin that had unalived her parents had returned. No body had been found, but they assumed that it had been thrown into the river by said assassin. Now this triggers another memory for Kale, and he remembers Selena saying that Archer had found her on the banks of a river. And he's like, no way. And okay, I suppose this is suspicious, but she could have been making up that stuff about being found on a riverbank, surely. She lied about lots of things. So, but okay. Then he finds the final nail in the coffin. Because at the top of the Ashriver family tree, there is a poem. Ashriver eyes, the fairest eyes from legends of old, of brightest blue, ringed with gold. And you know what? You could never guess. But Selena's eyes are blue, ringed with gold. And this is it. This is all the evidence that this man needs to come to the conclusion of who Selena really is. Brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. I could shed a tear. I'm so excited. Selena Sardothian wasn't in league with Aelin Ashriver Galathinius. Selena Sardothian was Aelin Ashriver Galathinius, heir to the throne and rightful queen of Terrasen. Selena was Aelin Galathinius, the greatest living threat to Adelan, the one person who could raise an army capable of standing against the king. Now she was also the one person who knew the secret source of the king's power, and who sought a way to destroy it. And he had just sent her into the arms of her strongest potential allies, to the homeland of her mother, the kingdom of her cousin, and the domain of her aunt, Queen Maeve of the Fae. Selena was the lost queen of Terrasen. Chaol sank to his knees. No freaking way! That is the end. That is the end of the book. This is sick. This is sick because despite the fact that I was saying Chaol was reaching, he's correct. I can confirm he is correct. Aelin is Selena. Selena is Aelin. She's a queen, guys. Guys, we knew she was special. We knew she was special, and we were right. She's not only the best to ever do it in the assassin sense, but she's literally a queen. She is a queen, and she's also Fae. She's all of the coolest things that she could possibly be, and I'm not even that surprised, because of course she is! Of course she is! I'm just so hyped, because I don't care that Kel's devastated by this news. I do not care one bit. I'm so excited. I do think it's really funny that Chaol is still like, oh no, this is terrible because I've just sent her to all of her allies and now she could stand against the king, who I'm still somehow blindly loyal to. No, why are you so mad? You should be pleased, really. You know the king's evil. Come on, drop the facade, Chaol. We know you know he's evil, and yet he still clings to his delusions that the king is somehow good? I don't know what this man's getting at. Like, why does he continue to support this man? Chaol's very rapidly dropping down my list of favourite people again. He might have been up there when he saved the dog. He was. I'll say it. He was up there when he saved the dog. He's coming down notches again now. But let's not dampen the mood. Selena Sardothian. A queen. We should have seen it coming. But I didn't. I did not. Because let me tell you, I was so surprised by this. Genuinely. You might think I'm stupid, but I was shocked when I found out this news. I was flabbergasted. I was so chuffed. I was so excited I can't even begin to describe it to you when I read this book and I realised what Selena is. Who Selena is. Not Selena. We can call her Aelin now. Hear me out. We always knew that she was lying about who she was, right? But Sarah J. Maas is like very good at this whole double bluffing situation. That's what I'm going to call her. I don't know if it actually counts as that. But when I found out that Selena was secretly Fae, I was kind of like, yes, this makes sense. She was lying about who she was because she's actually a Fae person. And then I kind of stopped there. I didn't think that there could be another reveal on top of the first reveal. And yet there was. And maybe this is just my way of finding out that my brain is just not large enough to comprehend the fact that there could be more than one thing that someone is hiding. But there it is, and I'm just chuffed about it. I really am. And to be honest with you, even if my brain is too small to comprehend the fact that there could be more than one secret reveal about a person, I'm actually pleased about that. Because I got to experience the full level of, like, shock when I read it. And if I had a bigger brain, I could have probably figured it out. But I didn't. We have reached the end of the book, and wasn't it a doozy? We've been through it. So, let's head into my final thoughts and feelings about what we have just experienced together. Let's discuss. I have such an itchy nose right now. I think it probably goes without saying, I love this book. Oh my gosh, it is so good. Definitely, upon making this review, it is confirmed that I like this book more than I like the first one. The first one sets us up really nicely for this book. I appreciate the work that it did. But this book is just, it's levels above what happened in that first one. There were some very sad bits, right? But that balances out all of the sick stuff that went down. All of the highs that we've had. There actually weren't that many, probably. Selena's been through a lot of traumatic stuff. But for me, I've had a very good time. My emotions were toyed with, but I did enjoy it. You know? The twists and turns and the reveals that happened, the surprises, the plot twists, I think they were really well done, personally. Let me know how you felt about them, because I would love to know what other people with possibly larger brains than me thought when they read it. Like, did you predict all of the things that occurred? Did you foresee that Archer was evil? Did you think that Selena was Aelin Galathinius? I would love to know if anyone else has a bigger brain than me, or if we're all small-brained bitches over here. If we are, you're in good company. We can make a club. Small-brained bitches. I like it. Anyway, I'm getting off track. It's getting late. I need to lock back in. First up, let's talk about the characters and what's occurred to them during the course of this book and how I felt about it. Now, Kale. I think we all know where I stand with this guy. I was increasingly disappointed with his behaviour throughout this book, and by the fact that nothing seems to dissuade him from being blindly loyal to the freaking king. The king has been nothing but evil this whole time, right? And the king has also done nothing for Kale this whole time, right? I feel like I've yapped about this enough. We don't need to get back into it. But I feel that it would have been beneficial if Kale had had a stronger argument for why he was so loyal to the king. If the king had done something hugely beneficial and picked him up off the street in childhood after his father abandoned him brutally, then I think I would have understood Kale's reasoning for being so loyal to the king all the time. You know, we could have strengthened that argument a bit, just to make it a bit more plausible that he stuck by that for the entirety of this book and the first book. And possibly the next book. We'll have to see, I guess. Despite all this, I really did love Kale and Selena's relationship and their love story that has blossomed throughout this book and then been brutally taken out, just as Nehemia was. I feel like we had a proper slow burn romance going on here because let's be honest with ourselves, despite the fact that Dorian and Selena were making out in the first book, we all knew that she was going to get with Kale eventually. Throughout that whole first book and the first half of the second book, it was building. We had some great tension going on, and even though their romance was short-lived, I really did enjoy it. Speaking of Dorian, I really liked him in this book. He's redeemed himself from the last book. I don't want to say it, but I think I might have gotten over the whole I'm unalive the dog incident, because now he's taken in the dog as one of his own. I think he's made up for past mistakes, and we definitely got to see a lot more depth from Dorian in this book. You know, he was questioning his father, he was standing up to him, he found out he had magic, which was awesome. I don't know, I feel like even though him and Selena were making out in the last book, this book was where we really got to see the Dorian underneath the prince facade. And I really like him. He's turning out to be a pretty good character. Now, Nehemia. I was so disappointed by Nehemia. I understood where she was coming from to a certain extent, you know, with the lies and the deception and the betrayal of Selena, right? I understood all of that because she has her own agenda. She has things she needs to achieve. I got it to a certain extent until she was unalived and Selena summoned her through a portal, and that was when she lost me. How could you say that to your best friend? Again, not going to get into it too much, but I don't like her anymore. I just don't think I can forgive that, if I'm going to be honest. Now, despite the fact that Archer ended up being evil, I did really enjoy his storyline. We went on a real roller coaster with Archer, you know? He went from old crush of Selena's to her next target that she was supposed to take out, to a tentative ally, to then eventually the person who betrayed her and had been deceiving her the whole time and had orchestrated all of these catastrophic events going on in her life. And I did personally go through the whole spectrum of feelings for him. I went from thinking he was kind of a sweetie, you know, him and Selena, they're flirting a bit, to thinking, wow, he's evil. So I did enjoy his arc. It was a short and very, very bitter one, but I was there for it. Speaking of roller coasters, the plot twists, the surprising reveals, loved all of that. We had so many, they were so good. We found so many cool things out. Dorian has magic, Selena is fae, and she's also secretly the lost queen of Terrason. Yes, I'm so hyped about that. I think that this is a huge leap up from the first book, where I feel the reveal that Cain was the evil person behind all of the champions fell flat. I wasn't surprised particularly. She tried to throw us off with Nehemia and it just didn't really work, in my opinion. I was not thrown off enough to be really shocked when it was revealed that Cain was behind all of this. But these reveals, they had me in a chokehold. I was invested in what was going on. And as I discussed earlier, as it was all happening, I think I was suitably shocked by all of them. However, my favourite part of this whole book is that Sarah J. Maas did not unalive Selena's dog. Round of applause. It was touch and go for a second there. I thought we might have lost Fleetfoot, but we did not. Fleetfoot lives. And it would have been a low blow had Sarah J. Maas taken Fleetfoot out. We would have all been devastated. We gained lots of new plot lines and information during this book. We found out about the word keys and the word gate. We were introduced to the witches, who will be relevant in the next book. We've got Selena heading to unknown lands that have yet to be explored by her. This is very exciting. We're getting some new places introduced. Woo! Kale is supposedly returning home to Aniel, while Dorian is grappling with this new power that he has uncovered. The squad may be separating, but they've all got their own things going on. And I'm very excited to see where this takes us. I know where it takes us. I've read book 3. It's my favourite one in the series. And I'm not gonna lie, book 3 is my favourite book of all time. Ever. Of all books, I fear. I'll let you know if that changes. But right now, in the current timeline of my life, book 3 of Throne of Glass is my favourite book of all time. So, overall, in conclusion, as a result of all of the above factors that I have mentioned, I love this book. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love this book. And that concludes my review, guys. I think we've done it. We've been through so much together. We've been on an emotional roller coaster. And I am so glad to have you with me. I hope that you'll join me for the next book in the series. However, the next video I will be making will not be a book from this series, just to forewarn you. It's something else. We're shifting the vibe a little bit. But I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you wouldn't mind liking it, I would appreciate that. And if you would like to see more of this kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button.
Oh.
Anyways, thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you again pretty soon. Bye!